So welcome guys to our Zoom on flu prevention and immune building tips. And every week this is something that we bring to you guys as a way of education and a means of information that you can share with yourself, your family, and with others. And we want you to all know that we are here to support you on your health journey. I'm Amanda Villarreal, and I love to educate and help people on topics that oftentimes are not really shared in a way of education. I believe this is one of them, is on how to naturally build up your immune system. So as we talk through some of this, feel free to ask questions. I do have you guys muted, but feel free to unmute yourself, and I'll open up at the end also for questions. So we have 20 minutes. It's a very quick Zoom, and we're going to cover a lot of information in 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and start here with first just mentioning, because I know a lot of you are in Michigan, and that's why I thought this was a great topic for this week, that unfortunately, the numbers are continuing to grow on people that are sick in our area. And I actually think this is going to get a whole lot worse because we haven't even actually hit flu season yet. So, whatever we can do to help look at ways that we can be proactive with our health, that should be our focus and our goal. And there are a lot of things that we have every day around us that are bombarding our systems, and that includes your immune system. So if you think about, a lot of times, beyond just the normal things that you think may affect your immunity, there are stresses and activities and environmental challenges around us every day that play a part into what happens with our immune health. And as we start to look at our immune system, and in case you have never really thought about your immune system, it is extremely complex. So there are several different functions that happen in the immune system, but one thing to note about our immune system is it's very hardworking. And the great thing about our immune system being hardworking is that it's there to support us. So it is available all the time. We just have to learn what we can do to optimally get our immune systems to function. So as we talk through some of these topics, like I said, I think some of this for many of us is probably considered to be pretty, I think self-explanatory, but I also think that we can also all note a couple of these things, maybe one or two of them, that we could also start implementing in our life and for our health, and just start to kind of think about some changes you could start to make. So some of the things we're going to be talking about: sleeping, stress reduction, exercise, nutrition, and looking at how we can put that into a place also for our families. And just some really quick tips on sleeping. This is tied with your immune system. And I don't think, again, oftentimes we mention that, if you don't get enough sleep, yeah, you don't feel as maybe on top of things, but it's also depleting your immune system. So just some tips you can read on the screen there to helping with improving your sleeping patterns. And I know many of us, we're busy, and the first thing to get neglected is sleep. So really, just try to take note of how much sleep you're getting. And if you notice yourself catching colds and constantly feeling like you're run down, that's your body's sign that you need to rest. So you may need more sleep in those times when you're not feeling optimal and 100%. So stress, this would also be another key indicator of what's going on with our health. And in case you guys have never heard this before, stress is actually a contributor to every single disease because it breaks our body down. So it's unfortunate that we can't avoid stress, but we can be more intentional about the things that we do to manage stress. So again, these are pretty basic, right? Exercise, working on our attitude, trying to do things that help with getting our mind to be more focused and calm, and also unplugging. So sometimes stepping away from things like, our phones and TV screens and computer screens, and just trying to be more present. But even our diet also can create stress on our body. And these are just some, again, very basic tips here of some simple things that we can start to do to helping with our immune system. So exercise, this is not oftentimes talked about, is when you exercise, it actually creates an immune response in your body that boosts the production of your macrophages. And if you guys don't know what those are, they're the cells that actually attack bacteria. So if you can make those cells activate, it's going to help with actually creating a stronger immune system long term. So we all should make sure we are getting in enough activity. And it doesn't have to be a ton. You don't have to be a marathon runner. This is just general guidelines. 2.5 hours a week is, just enough to help with increasing our immunity. So great things to mention there with making sure we are getting enough activity here. So now, looking at diets, one thing to note that sugar is a huge depleter in our immune system. So if you guys have never, really truly investigated what is the triggers of sugar and how it affects your body, it's very interesting. And even 1 teaspoon of sugar can deplete your immune system by 50% for about an hour and a half after you intake sugar. So, again, you think about how is that really affecting my body? Yes, it is 100%. So, and again, none of us are perfect, but we want to be thinking about more of these type of things that you're seeing on the screen: proteins, fruits and vegetables, whole grains. Basically, how we should try to eat more of whole food focused. And protein should be a big component of that. Even other sources besides what we think of as protein, like meat, think of, things like quinoa and hummus and other options too, which are great to helping keeping our body strong. And also protein supplements. We're a big fan of incorporating supplements to helping also with boosting our immunity and looking at natural alternatives. And again, we want to wait a lot of times until our symptoms are really at a place that they are too far along, that then we're at the need for medication. And this is why we really want to help with the idea that if we are proactive and we start to really focus on building health first, when you get sick, you're going to notice the symptoms don't last as long in duration. When you get sick, the symptoms are not as severe as someone else. When you get sick, you don't always even have to feel like you have to go off from your normal schedule. Those are the things that we really want to try to work on in being proactive. And again, I said at the beginning, this is a really prime time of year looking at building health. So just a really quick, great foundation. Everybody should be taking a multivitamin, and we want to try to make sure that we are getting a multivitamin that is actually released when it should be, and that it has all of our vitamins and minerals intact to helping giving any deficiencies that could possibly be around, no chance, because you were at least supplementing with a multivitamin. Now, we personally love this Vitalizer strip. And the reason being is because of all the research behind it, nature-based but scientifically proven. And the 3 options, we have women's, men's, and gold. For people over 50 would be the gold. But the complex system that's involved with this Vitalizer allows us to really have several areas of focusing on our immune system. So we have our multi, but we also have our B vitamins. We also have our vitamin C. And again, when you think of immune health, those are a few of the main things. Actually, would be your B, your C's, and covering all of your vitamins and minerals. But also something that we oftentimes don't talk about is our probiotics and how that affects your immune system. They say that over 80% of your immune health lies in your gut. So if we can keep that gut health very active and healthy, then that is going to help to decrease the amount of times that we get sick, and it's going to help to keep our immune system much healthier. And there are several different areas that we're going to look at. And I'm going to explain another probiotic here in a second, actually go into a little more detail about those. But I'm going to throw a lot of different things out here. I know we only have 20 minutes, but I like to give a lot of information so we know that we have options. Now, this first product you're going to see here, this is one that I believe that anybody that tends to get sick a lot has some issues with allergies, something that you also know may be related to immune health. This Nutriferon product is by far one of the best ways to support, regulate, and stimulate immune function. There is no side effects. It creates the body's ability to produce natural interferon. And when we can do that, whether your immune system is overworking or underworking, it helps to create balance. So this is a very specific supplement to helping with keeping the body ready at all times to fight back. So it works at the cellular level. Nutriferon, again, something you can take every single day. And then we also have some things that we look at that are more of a, okay, I might take as needed. And these are going to be options of things like Vitalized Immunity. If you're familiar with Emergency, that's a common over-the-counter product. But if you look at the preservatives and the colors in there, we oftentimes, don't look at those other ingredients. But those other ingredients, again, can be having adverse effects on our health long term. So this Vitalized Immunity, I know there's a lot of you on here that love this product also, but great for kids, great for adults. Drop it in your glass of water. You can do it warm. You can do it cold. We like to add honey into it, but you can do it however you choose, but it's like a blast to your immune system. So 16 oranges worth of vitamin C in one of those tablets. So this time of year, a great thing to keep on hand. You might not have to do this every day, but a good product to offer you that boost. And another one we have here is Defend and Resist. And if you're familiar with a lot of the talk right now, and we were just meeting a little bit ago with someone, and they were talking about, elderberry, and, that's a very common thing that's being talked about right now for immune health. Yes, it is. And elderberry is a great product because, again, it does help. It has anti-inflammatory properties to it, and it has antioxidant properties. And also, when you use things like elderberry, but also in this product, you have echinacea, you have larch tree, and you have zinc, which it's a more complex than variation of attacking your immune system in all different areas versus just one focus of a nutrient. So when we can get all of that combined together, that is going to help to give our immune system more of what it needs versus just using one specific nutrient. And that's what is different. When you have the clinical studies that actually show what's happening to your body when you're using these things, that's where these clinical studies are developed to actually prove that they are working. So love the Defend and Resist, and bioflavonoids that are in this. Same with vitamin C, actually. Those destroy the ability for your cold and flu viruses to actually infect the cells. And so that's why we want to try to increase those right away at the first sign of a cold or a flu or our symptoms start to appear. So anytime you use something like echinacea, it is a product, though you don't stay on that every day. You would actually do this occasionally. So 7 days, they say, maybe take a day off and you could start it again. But you need a break from echinacea, otherwise your body just develops an immune to it. So it's not going to allow it to be as active. So taking a break is great. So we were talking about probiotics here a little bit ago, and I love this story, and just sharing one from a friend of Josie. She actually is a common, I think, example of how many people do you know that get reoccurring infections every year? They can tell you every December I get strep throat, every November I get bronchitis, and those are all a immune response to something that our body is fighting. And even cold sores, again, it's an immune response. That is your body's way of showing a symptom that your body is under attack. And when we ignore those symptoms, that's what oftentimes leads to a major disease. I mentioned this in every area of health. If you're noticing reoccurring headaches, you're noticing stomach aches, that's not just by coincidence. Your body is telling you something. So we want to try to not just mask those symptoms with a prescription. We want to actually rebuild our health and not have to be dealing with those side effects later of, again, just masking the symptoms. So something like a probiotic. And again, this is a big talk, and I wanted to spend a little bit more time on this, though, because people think probiotics, the higher number, the better. And this, in Josie's example here, she was told by her doctor to get the highest number she could find. So she bought 30 billion CFUs of probiotics. And again, many of them, they really put on the label there, that number, because they want you to see how high of a number that is. But just because it's a high number doesn't mean it's absorbed. Oftentimes the doctors recommend the highest numbers because they're hoping a little bit of it will be absorbed. And that's why they offer such of that big number. But when she switched over to taking Shaklee, which only has just our little tiny Pearl probiotic here, has about 5 million, active CFUs, she actually noticed a tremendous difference, and since then has never had strep again. And the big difference, though, to note is the probiotic actually delivered when it was supposed to and helped to be absorbed in the small intestinal tract to build up that good bacteria. So this is what we want to note is these probiotics. So the differences between them, vast difference, and there's many of them out there. So really important to note that this is different, and finding the ones that are guaranteed to work is a concept that all of us should become familiar with, because that's part of our Shaklee difference in knowing that the products are studied to have their proof and that they're always safe. So, and there's also another probiotic version, and this has 4 different strains in it compared to that little Pearl only has 2. This also has an immunity strain in it. So this is different than the Pearl. It's actually a capsule. You can open this, which is great for kids because you can dump that into something and it's still going to be live. So the Pearl and this do differ in the amount of strains it has, which a lot of people with something like, irritable bowel syndrome, diverticulitis, something that they have a lot of immune issues and gut health symptoms. A lot of times this DI can take a little bit for them to ease into because it is so powerful. So I always note this is an amazing product, but sometimes people have to ease into it. But I highly recommend, if you're noticing, you really need to be increasing your immune system and your gut health, to check out this DI product. It's fairly new, actually. It hasn't been around as long, but Shaklee goes through many, many years of research and studies to finally figure out what products should be released. And so we always know that it's safe, and that DI, again, has been a great addition to our probiotic option. So, and then vitamin C. Vitamin C is your one nutrient that your body cannot store. So vitamin C has to be supplemented, and that's why you see so many foods fortified with vitamin C. But again, just because it's fortified doesn't mean it's always digested. So vitamin C, there's lots of options. We have chewable, again, great for kids. We have our vitamin C that's sustained release, so it actually stays in your system for 12 hours and it's slowly released. But the thing to note with vitamin C's is, again, where it comes from, but also what's added and also what is it coated with. You want to make sure that it's broken down, and Shaklee actually coats theirs with natural gums that come from plants, and that is what is part of that time release system. So vitamin C is burned off all the time. We talked about earlier, stress, exercise, that those things deplete the immune system. That's also part of what depletes our vitamin C sources. So if we can increase our vitamin C, that's going to be a huge component in helping to increase our immunity. So that vitalized immunity we talked about too is a drink option of C. So it's nice that, again, you kind of have an option for all different levels of how we can increase our immune system. So now, there's also some other things we're going to kind of touch on. I said we are covering a lot of things here, so feel free to ask me some questions here as we get towards the end. But we do want you guys to know that we are offering a lot of things to support you on along the way with your immune system, and we are starting a post-holiday health makeover, which is incorporating part of this cleanse. Now, if we want to look at healing the gut and strengthening our immune system, a cleanse is actually an ideal thing to do that. So we highly recommend people checking out the cleanse, which is including a lot of these products we're talking about here tonight, including alfalfa and some other things that are very detoxifying, but that also helps to create a more neutral environment in our body. So our cleanse, again, you oftentimes wouldn't hear of somebody doing a cleanse to stimulate their immune system, but it can be extremely helpful. So we are starting a group cleanse or reset actually on the 13th of this month, but feel free to check with, whoever invited you about, where you should begin, because we're all different and we're just showing you lots of different options. But again, we want to have a strategy for how we can both prevent and how we can treat. We like to build what we call our Shaklee medicine cabinet, where we can have lots of options to have things that we need on hand. Some we take every day, some we take as needed. This is another product, that garlic complex. And many of us have heard of garlic, and we know that, we use it in different food sources, but as a supplement, garlic is extremely healing for not just our immune system, but also heart health. It's known to lower blood pressure, cholesterol, increase your HDL, lower triglycerides. But a lot of times when people take garlic and they ingest it, they have a hard time because it creates a really bad odor and creates a lot of sensitivities to people's stomach. But Shaklee actually has, again, a patented process that the allicin that actually keeps the garlic intact isn't released until your small intestinal tract. So it doesn't create then that effect of having the smell of garlic. So taking extra garlic, amazing. It can be used, again, as needed when you feel the first sign of something. It can also be used during your cleanse if you choose to. But the garlic complex, I really think, is a good one to remember, because it acts as, if you see all the words there, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory. So, it's actually known as nature's penicillin. So it kills the bad things, and the probiotics are used to build the good things. So unfortunately, we can't just take one thing and expect it to cover all. We have to have different options, and this is just another one to note, is garlic. So 2 tablets is equivalent to 1 clove of fresh garlic. And we mentioned Defend and Resist a little bit ago, and this was just a good reminder of, again, that this is a really good one to keep on hand for stimulating, the immune system and supercharging it so it's ready to go. And I want to make sure, like I said, I had a few minutes here for questions, so I always try to stay on time with these. So 20 minutes, guys, and then we'll move into business training for you guys that want to stay on here. But for prevention, think of getting your base down, whether it's through a multivitamin, which is our Vital E, or a Vitalizer, more comprehensive, vitamin C, Nutriferon, Optiflora probiotic, or the DI is giving you a great prevention program. And we also want to throw in their protein. Again, if you can supplement with protein or adding in more food sources, great. But things to keep on hand. Think of, sometimes we, again, could be under attack and we don't realize it until it's too late. But if we notice we're getting a symptom, runny nose, your head's getting congested, you're noticing drainage in your throat, start to think about what can I boost and enhance to help stop it cold in its tracks. And those are some of the products we mentioned also, a little bit ago, and how we could attack our immune system when we need it. So, all right, guys, let's open up. Remember, you are muted. So if you have some questions here, feel free to go ahead and Ask Me Now. And as you're muting yourself, I just want to kind of finish with some good reminders here of, kind of what we covered. Try to get a good night's sleep. Use warm things like the Vitalize Immunity, your protein, wash your hands, avoid touching your face. My husband always yells at me because I'm always touching my face. Don't put your hands by your face. Wipe down things like your cell phone periodically, making sure we're getting rid of germs, and try to make sure you're exercising. So, all right, guys, any questions now? I see a couple of you unmuted, so. Don't be shy, guys. Go for it.
Well, I have not a question, but just a comment. I sent Joel to school with the DI and the vitamins, and he was the only one in his entire dorm floor that didn't get sick first semester. So.
Woohoo! That's a positive testimonial. Thanks for sharing. That's awesome. Yeah.
He takes some Nutriferon and all of them. So.
That is great. Yes, I really think it makes a huge difference. And I know for us, Nutriferon is I think a really big one for allergies too. So yeah, good. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right, good. Anybody else? All right, well, I hope you guys found it helpful. Maybe a thumbs up if you did. Great. Awesome, guys. Well, again, thanks for joining us. You have topic ideas, please share. We love to help you guys, so please share if you would like to hear something specific. And we're going to move into our business training, which we are very excited. We've had a lot of new announcements, so if you want to hang on, you are welcome to. Otherwise, we'll hopefully see you guys next week, same time, Monday, 8:30 for our next product training, so an educational topic. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.